All right, we are going to go ahead and get started. Again, welcome. Thank you so much for taking your time to join us today. My name is Abby Gonzalez. I'm an economic development specialist with the U.S. Small Business Administration here in Houston. I will be moderating one of our panels today. We're very excited to bring you lots of great information about doing business with various government agencies. Feel free to add your questions to the chat. We will have time for questions at the end. I will also be following up with all of you with an email to give you all of the contact information for today's panelists, so not to worry, but stay tuned for some really great information. And again, if you have any questions, please feel free to add them, and we are looking forward to giving you lots of great insights into the federal, state, and local government contracting arena. So without further ado, I'd like to go ahead and kick us off by asking my district director, Mr. Tim Jeffcoat, to join us for some welcome remarks. Tim?
Good morning, everyone. This is a terrific time to get into government contracting or diversify contracting activities. You might know that for many years, the United States government has had the goal that 23% of all contracts go to small businesses, and that's terrific. One component of that was that about 5% of contracts were targeted to always go to what would be called a disadvantaged business enterprise, someone that we normally would call socially and economically disadvantaged. Well, President Biden has changed that goal now to 15%, 3 times as much by 2025, and he expects us to do 11% to disadvantaged business enterprises this year. So that's great news. Let's add to that, recently Congress passed the infrastructure bill. That's $550 billion being spent quickly on all sorts of transportation projects, water quality and resilience projects, internet, electricity distribution, and pollution projects. That means there will be billions of dollars coming to Texas and contracts available at the federal, state, county, and city levels. To help you with diversifying your contracting activities, I want you to take note of this. Grab your pencil, this is important. We are having a big matchmaking event Friday, March 4th, and it's completely virtual. You can participate just like you are right now. There will be about 100 big business buyers, government agencies, and federal prime contractors from across the U.S. looking for small businesses to give their contracts to. We expect at least about 700 small businesses and probably 1,200 or more individual meetings with buyers will occur. So you should attend this if you're looking to get new business and to diversify your contracting. We'll share the information about the event later on. You're about to hear from some wonderful people about what's going on with their agencies and how they are contracting. Pay close attention. I hope you can get one of these opportunities, either theirs or from the matchmaking event, or even from your own efforts. You may also find that you need funding. If you need funding to help you adapt to one of these contracts that we certainly hope you win, we won't discuss that in detail today, but know that the SBA guarantees bank loans to help you get the funding you need to grow your business. We even hold events to connect you with the best small business bankers in the Houston area, and we do a lot of those. You want to go to my website. On there, you want to join our mailing list. Every week we send you valuable information about the over 1,000 events we hold every year to help small businesses grow and prosper. And also on that website, you will find information about our lending programs. So enough about the SBA. Thank you for being here today. This is going to be terrific. It is now my pleasure to introduce my friend Murray. Marcia runs the Office of Business Opportunity with the City of Houston. We have a wonderful relationship, and together our two offices have done some terrific things to help small businesses. Turn it over to you now, Marcia. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Tim. Thank you for the introduction. It's always great to see you, and I absolutely appreciate our collaborative partnership in supporting the small business community. I'd also like to acknowledge Dr. Clark with the University of Houston Hub Program operations, as well as Derek Holmes from Harris County, and all our resource and small business panelists. We all have a shared commitment to our local small businesses. At the Office of Business Opportunity, we've created a pool of more than 4,800 certified minority women and small business enterprises to serve as a supplier diversity pipeline for contract opportunities in the Houston region. The city alone spends billions of dollars in procuring goods and services, and there are many more opportunities available as the region continues to grow. At the city, we want to make sure that our procurement process is accessible to all, and we're always improving upon vendors' ability to navigate that process, which we know at times can be daunting. So this month, we've launched the City of Houston Procurement 101 portal. This online tool provides training videos that will walk you step by step through how to bid on contracts, how to respond to RFPs, RFQs, and ITBs, the purpose of pre-bid meetings, understanding contract terms for primes and subs, and so much more. You can access these videos 24/7 by going to our website and clicking on Procurement 101 on-demand training. While I've highlighted our supplier diversity program, also know that the Office of Business Opportunity serves all small businesses regardless of certification status. Throughout the year, we offer free programs that will help you grow, scale, and market your business, whether you're just getting started or if you have already established yourself in the industry. A program that I'd like to just briefly highlight is the Build Up Houston program, which is seeking its 7th cohort in the spring. If you've been in business for at least 2 years, do inquire about the application process. This 7-month program is designed to increase the capacity and success of small businesses. All businesses are eligible to apply regardless of industry. For more information, please reach out to Dr. Jackson, who will be speaking on the resource panel in just a few moments. We also have our Business Solutions Center for general business development support and questions about permitting and licensing. And if you haven't done so, please sign up for our weekly email updates about resources and procurement opportunities. I hope you find today's session to be fruitful for your business. I wish you all the success in all of your business endeavors. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much to Marsha and Tim for their remarks. Thank you for joining us and giving us some information about these organizations that are here to help the small businesses that are listening today. So as you've heard, you're going to get lots of information. Make sure you're writing it down and joining us for more discussions later. Without any further ado from all of our panelists, I'd like to say thank you all for joining us today. And I'd like to go ahead and get us started with our very first panel, which is our Small Business Resource Panel. These resource partners can help you achieve your goals of doing business with various government agencies, and they can help you learn how to get started, how to grow, and what you'll need to know to keep going. So if I could have my panelists for the resource panel turn their cameras on, I'm going to go ahead and spotlight you all so that you can join me here and bring you to the stage. We have from the Small Business Administration, Ms. Gay Spears-Madison. From the University of Houston, Dr. Linnell Clark. From the City of Houston, Dr. Portia Jackson. So if we can go ahead and go around and give our introductions, just a couple minutes, literally a couple minutes. We have a lot of questions and a lot of people who are going to want to ask you questions. So if we could take 2 to 3 minutes to introduce ourselves, our organization, and how people can become involved with you. If we can start with Dr. Clark of the University of Houston.
Thank you so much. So the first thing that I wanted to share is that the University of Houston has over 47,000 students and 16 academic colleges. Our procurement process is decentralized, meaning that all of those 16 colleges can actually do direct purchasing, and well is the fact that we post anything 25,000 and above on the ESBD. And we have a lot of opportunities both in construction and non-construction. And I look forward to sharing with everyone how you can become a known vendor and know about all of our opportunities. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Clark. Dr. Jackson, would you like to go next?
Sure. Good morning, everyone. I'm Dr. Portia Jackson, Business Development Manager with the City of Houston's Office of Business Opportunity. And our office, we are an advocate for small businesses. So we are here to provide the resources to help you connect, educate you, and also to grow and start your business. And so what we have with the City of Houston, you can go to a purchasing website and you can search all the bids, you can become a city vendor and learn how to do business with the city. But of course, with this panel, I'll be able to share more information and insight on how you can do that. And so I've just shared my information in the chat, and I'll be here to help you to navigate doing business with the City of Houston and to access the different resources that we have, which includes our OBO Solutions Center, which was mentioned earlier, and all of our business development programming.
Thank you, Dr. Jackson. Gay?
Good morning. My name is Gay Spears Madison, and I'm a business opportunity specialist with the United States Small Business Administration. I've been with the federal government since 1993, working in the 8A Business Development Program. Today, I will be going through the certifications that the SBA accepts that helps the small business to do business with the federal government. So thank everyone for attending, and thank you for inviting me.
Thank you all so much. And we have our fourth panelist joining us now, Mr. Derek Holmes with Harris County. Derek, would you like to go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about Harris County?
Sure. Thank you for having me here today. Good morning. My name is Derek Holmes. I'm the Assistant Director of Vendor Diversity at the DEO. I manage the Vendor Diversity team, which oversees the county's MWB program. My public sector contract compliance education actually started with OBO. And Harris County passed the MWB policy framework in November of 2020, developed our administrative manual in December 2021. Both are available on our website. Since the vendor diversity team is only 4 months old, we aren't actively planning services right now. But we are actively planning services right now. We'll oversee pre-award and post-award compliance, including contract-specific analysis, good faith efforts analysis, commercial function, and we will continue to host MWB outreach activities, partner with other organizations, and create our own capacity building programs.
Thank you so much, Derek, and thank you all for your introductions. I'm really excited to moderate today's panel. We have about 25 minutes with you all, so as you guys are listening, make sure you add your questions for our panelists today. I have some pre-written questions for them, but I want to make sure to take questions from our audience. Now, as you'll see, all of our representatives are from different agencies ranging from city level, state level, county, and federal level. So you have a range of information to access here, so take full advantage of it. So I'll go ahead and get us started with our first question. And I want to ask the panel how you would recommend that a business determine which government agency they should start doing business with first. Is there a perfect formula for that? Should they start at a smaller level and move up, or what would you recommend for them? And Dr. Clark, I'll go ahead and start with you again.
Yes, well, my recommendation is first to determine what certification do you currently have, and what sort of type of certification that you need to do work with the entity. With the University of Houston, while you don't have to be HUB certified, that's what we're looking for in terms of, because we have to meet our state goals. So it takes, you can get certified as a historically underutilized business program through the state comptroller's office or through the city and other entities that have a partnership that can assist you with that. So that will be number one. Number two is what type of commodity or service do you provide? And so I think that the approach that I would take if I were a business is to contact people such as myself and discuss what your business provides and whether the university, in our case, actually procures that service, so that you are not unnecessarily wasting your time and our time. So, because I'm going to be very honest, some things we don't have a contract, have a need for, and or our need will be so far out that it won't meet your immediate desire to make some money. So, so I'll leave it at that for right now and circle back in response to additional questions.
That's a great response. And I appreciate that you pointed out that you don't have to be certified to do business with your agency, just as that goes for all of the agencies here. You don't have to be certified, but it does help. So that may be something to keep in mind. I know a lot of people ask how to do business if they're not certified or if they don't know how to get certified. And we'll circle back to that question for sure. So Gay, I saw you unmute yourself. Did you want to add to that?
No, I was unmuting so that I could be prepared.
Okay, you want to go ahead and jump in?
Okay, well, for us with the United States Small Business Administration, we have several different certification programs that businesses can join who want to do business with the federal government that are only accepted by the federal government. But what I suggest to anyone that's starting out is to first you determine your goods and services that you're actually providing, and then you want to do the research to see what federal agencies are procuring those goods and services. And if they are procuring those goods and services, when was the last time? Because most contracts are let and they're let for a 3 to 5 year term. So if the contract was just let, then you'll be waiting around another cycle for it to come open again. And if it is one of the contracts that you're trying to get, then you know that that's going to be a self-marketing effort where you're going to be attending marketing events or industry days for those particular agencies. So number one, what are your goods and services, as Dr. Clark alluded to? Number two, what agencies are actually going to be buying those goods and services? And three, when was the last time they bought those goods and services? If it's a federal solicitation, then they're only going to accept the federal certification programs.
That's a great point. Thank you for specifying that the difference with federal certifications is that we're only going to accept those, right? If you're looking to do business with the federal government, make sure that you're getting the right certifications. And that's actually going to go into my next question, but I still want to allow Dr. Jackson and Derek to give us their insights on this question. So Dr. Jackson, did you want to jump in?
Yes, my advice would be is that you have to do your research, but definitely you have to be sort of like you're on the hunt. So if you want to do business, you need to know exactly what that organization purchases, when they purchase it. Everything is a pattern. When they purchase, what do they purchase, who is currently getting those contracts, and then you kind of work, you see the end, and then you work your way to that. So you want to see what they're purchasing, how much they're purchasing, when they're purchasing, and who is the person or the businesses that are getting those contracts. Once you know that, figure out from your end, does your product or service, is that something that they're purchasing? If so, okay, then how can you better prepare yourself to go after those contracts? Also, when you're researching and when you're on the hunt, you need to know, who do I need to talk to for that particular organization? Where are those people at? What events are they having? Because you can have the greatest products, you can have the greatest services, but if no one knows who you are and what you're able to do, then it's not going to matter. So I just would really encourage to start with that research and knowing, because you want to go after basically who and what organization you're trying to target for them to be able to do business with you.
Thank you, Dr. Jackson. Derek, would you like to answer that?
Sure. I think the other panelists have pretty much answered the question as I would have. What I would like to add is at Harris County, we have 1 year renewals for all contracts. So it's not set up with the immediate 3 year with 2 1 year renewals on the end. And since we just started setting goals last May, a lot of our contracts are going to go back out for bid so that we can actually put MWB goals on them. So all the opportunities are on the table for the next 12 months or so. So definitely look into that.
Thank you so much for that. So I did start intentionally with that question because I wanted to get it out of the way for people who are joining us and wondering what to do with all of the information that they're going to be getting. So right off the bat, I wanted to make sure we specified a little bit about each of the different agencies that are represented here today. So now I want to circle back and learn more about the certifications that each of your entities offer, so that we're giving this information to our listeners, where they can get these certifications and how they apply to the contracts that are available. So Derek, I can go right back to you since you just spoke.
Sure. So as you stated earlier, you don't have to be certified to do business with Harris County. However, the first step is to register with our bonfire, which can be found on our county's purchasing department's website. All contractors must be registered with the county, and bonfire notifies firms with contracting opportunities. If you're professional services firms, specifically professional services related to construction, you probably want to also go to the engineering department's website as well as the flood control website and become an approved vendor. They have a process where they look at the vendor list. I literally spoke with engineering yesterday. You can set up meetings with them if you're not on that list, to get on that list. They'll walk you through their process. They'll even introduce you to people at the precincts who make decisions on who participates on contracts. So definitely become an approved vendor and register with Her Bonfire.
Very great advice. And if there are any helpful links that you want to add to the chat, feel free to add those in there. I know we have some very active listeners. Dr. Jackson, would you like to add for the city?
For the certifications, yes. So the city offers local certifications. So we're talking about our minority business enterprise, women business enterprise, small business enterprise, which is construction related only for us, persons with disabilities enterprise, and then we do have disadvantaged business enterprise and airport concessions business enterprise. And we can also submit your information to be hub certified. And we do also acknowledge the LGBTQ BE certification in our directory. So all these certifications come together so that you can do business with the city, and our certifications are also accepted at other government agencies, and our certifications are at no cost. And that is your advantage to work on these larger contracts. So when you see these contracts that are offered, and I'll also put in the chat where you can go to search for bids, in addition to being on our weekly e-blast. And also I'll put in the chat to our certification page so you can learn about our certifications and attend our pre-certification workshops. But definitely want to communicate that the certifications give you that leverage to work on those larger contracts, to be subcontracted, and to also we provide information so that you can network and understand how to be a part of those contracts by meeting the prime contractors and being able to tell them about your businesses, about your business, and what you can bring to the table in regards to a contract.
Thank you so much, Dr. Jackson. I think you actually answered one of the questions in the chat about how to search for these opportunities, so that's great.
Yeah, I saw it.
Perfect. Dr. Clark?
Yes, well, the first thing I will say is the University of Houston, we don't do certifications. We're not a certifying agency, but we accept the only certification that we recognize as a state agency is the historically underutilized business certification, hub certification, which Dr. Jackson pointed out that you can apply for that through the city, you can apply through the state directly. What I will say is that we do, however, have our own internal hub database. And when you are certified, we encourage businesses to establish a profile, because that database is accessible to all UH staff, and anyone who's making a procurement will utilize the database, especially when it is under a threshold where they can just procure without bids for informal bids. They will definitely use that database to try to identify hubs. So I encourage, and I'll put information in the chat in terms of our website where you can go, and it costs no money to establish a vendor profile with us. What I will want to also point out to our listeners is we don't do business in the sense that you go and market to our different colleges in departments. We are still a university, and we're actively engaged in our mission of educating students. So therefore, it's not like a corporation where you show up at someone's door to talk about, or when people say, well, I'm in technology, can I meet with some director of your department of technology? Well, each one of our colleges procures technology, may procure technology separately. So we're a little unique in that respect. So it's so important that you connect with my office so I can help best guide and help advocate and get you in front of the right person or persons.
Thank you so much, Dr. Clark. That was a lot of great advice for our listeners. Gay, I want to go ahead and go over to you.
Yes, ma'am. The SBA has several different certification programs that are contracting related. You can register as a small disadvantaged business at sam.gov, System for Award Management. That is the only one that you can actually register for, depending on if you meet the qualifications, you register for that certification. We have a woman-owned small business and EDWSB, which is economically disadvantaged. All of the programs that SBA has, you have to be at least 51%, whatever that is. So if it's woman-owned, 51% woman-owned. If you want to do the veteran-owned business, we have assistance programs with those, but of course you have to show your DD 254 to be registered in SAM in order to get that assistance. We have the 8A Business Development Program, which is for also small businesses that are socially and economically disadvantaged individuals. 51% ownership for that one. And then we also have our Hub Zone program, and that's going to be based on a principal office, where that principal office is located in a hub zone area, not to be confused with the city or the state talking about the hub certification. That zone also includes 35% of the employees that reside in a hub zone, not necessarily the hub zone where the principal office is, but a hub zone nonetheless. And they check that with the driver's license of the employees. For our 8A Business Development Program, we also have different webinars that we're doing right now. All of our information comes from our SBA's website, which has a lot of information, but for those certification programs, it is broken down by program benefits, program qualifications, and frequently asked questions. So throughout this time, if people want to peruse over to that, and if they have any other questions on any particular program, I'll be happy to answer that, but we have several different programs. So depending on which way this panel is leaning for questions, that'll be the program that we'll discuss the most.
Thank you so much, Kate. That was a lot of great information once again. So I appreciate all of you sharing, and we've had lots of questions coming into the chat. I want to focus on one and start with Dr. Jackson, because Dr. Jackson, I know that the City of Houston has various business development programs that can help some of our listeners better understand these guidelines and these resources. So one of the questions was, where do I begin to get this research, or where do I begin to gather the information to select which agency I want to do business with? So if we could give that information, and again, Dr. Jackson, if you could kind of hit on some of those programs that you guys already have for this very reason.
Right. So where do you begin if you want to do business with the government? Again, I want to go back to the first question, or the second question, where everybody kind of chipped in as far as doing your research, knowing what products that you have, because what you want to make sure, and knowing who you want to target, right? So it's not just about, I want to do business with the government. You have to know your product and what the government, those different government agencies purchase. And because if they don't purchase what you have, then you might want to reassess if that is your end goal. And definitely all of us on the call can definitely give you information as far as your specific company and kind of help you to make that decision and see what's best for you. As far as the City of Houston, we do have business development programs that will assist you in that area. We have the Interagency Mentoring Protege Program, which we are going to start accepting applications probably at the end of February, early March. And that program it introduces you to the various different government agencies. So we're talking about Houston Community College, HISD, Port of Houston, Houston First, Metro, and we all work together to walk you through a process, about 6 to 9 week process on the different facets of doing business with government agencies, and then pair you with a mentor at the end of the program who will kind of help you through it. And that mentor is someone who has been a prime contractor for at least one of our agencies. And they walk you through that process, and hopefully that you'll forge a relationship and be able to work on a project together. Because doing business with the government is a lot of steps to it once you get into it. And sometimes what's going to really help you to succeed is being able to work on those contracts, sometimes as a sub, so you understand fully about it, and then you're able to go on and get your formula and get your business and grow your capacity to do more. We also have Build Up Houston, which is a 7-month capacity building program, and we touch on the same things, but it's a more long process. And how do you get your business together? How do you get your finances together, your marketing piece together, your operations? And so we have various different programs that will help you with that. We even have Certified What's Next. So once you get certified and you're just wondering, I'm certified, but what does this certification actually mean for me? What does it look like? Then we walk you through that process of what to do, who to contact, how to contact them, and how to network and where to network. So all that information can be found on our website. And of course, I'm here. So if you ever want to set up a meeting specifically to talk about your business and what your strategy should be, I love doing that. So definitely reach out to me. And again, I'll put our website in the chat so you can see that, and then you'll have my contact information to go forward.
Perfect. Thank you so much. As you guys have heard directly from Dr. Jackson, there are plenty of programs to take advantage of. So make sure you get in contact with them and take full advantage of these programs that are built and designed to help you reach your goals. Did any of our other panelists want to hit on that same subject?
What was the question going back to looking for opportunities?
Yes, how to look for these opportunities and if there are any programs such as the ones that Dr. Jackson mentioned to help guide them.
Well, what SBA has is a subcontractor network called Subnet for those individual small businesses that want to work with primes. You can select your state territory and it'll pull up a business directory of those prime contractors in that area if you want to do subcontracting. Going back to sam.gov, I think there was a question in the chat that said, where do we go to look for these opportunities? So for all the federal agencies, those opportunities are going to be at sam.gov under contracting opportunities. That took the place of the FESBizOps.gov website. All that stuff was integrated into SAM. So under contracting opportunities, you can pull up information on different solicitations that the federal agencies have. If you decide you want to do business with a particular federal agency, you can visit their website, and they also have contract forecasts on work that they're going to be that's going to be upcoming for the fiscal year. And they have it listed into quarters: first quarter, second quarter, third quarter, and things of that nature. But it is going to take time and effort by these small business. It's a lot of information out there, and everybody has a different system. So it's going to take the research for you, but you want to make sure that you have the proper certification so you'll know who to actually go after.
Thank you so much, Gay. Dr. Clark, did you want to add? I see that you unmuted.
Yes, I would just remind people to periodically check the ESBD if you are not receiving automatic alerts. But in any event, our agency number is, if you go to ESBD, is 730, or you can just sort for the University of Houston. We post anything 25,000 and above on the ESBD. Anything below that, we also, again, our vendor database, if you set up a profile, you'll be notified through the colleges of smaller opportunities as well. And for forecasted opportunities, you can definitely reach out to me and I can share with you what we forecast or project in the future. And all of our opportunities are also shared with our community partners, such as NAMAC, the various chambers, HMSDC, etc. So we try to find various ways, and the city has been great, as well as advertising some of our opportunities in their newsletter. So I think we all just try to hit it in different ways, and it just depends on what works for that particular business of how they digest notifications.
Great advice from all of our panelists. So I hope you guys are taking notes and learning about how to search for these opportunities. I have a question from our audience, and it would be for Dr. Portia Jackson and Mr. Derek Holmes. We got a question a couple of times asking if there's a residency requirement to do business with Harris County or the city of Houston, meaning if someone is located in Fort Bend County, for example, can they still do business with Harris County? So I'll go ahead and start with you, Derek.
We have a significant local presence policy. If you have a local presence, which would include Fort Bend in this case, like a home office here, then it does not really apply to you. You pass the program. But for those that don't have home offices here, then they must prove that they've done business within our area 3 times within the last 3 years to qualify for the MWB program.
Thank you. Dr. Jackson?
And for the city of Houston, if you're in Fort Bend County, that is totally fine. To do business with the city, Again, you don't have to be certified and you don't have to be in the local area at all. Fort Bend County is considered to be the local area. We are about a 10 county surface that we considered local. But if you're in California, DC, and you want to do business with the city, you still can do business with the city of Houston. You can't be certified by us, but you can definitely do business with the city of Houston.
Thank you all both so much. Another question that we got is asking how government agencies look at a business's financials to see if the firm can handle the volume of a contract. So that question is related to their capacity. So do we have any panelists that would like to speak to that?
I can speak to that on the federal level. If a contractor is being looked at for a particular solicitation and the contracting officer has questions on the federal level, we have what we call a certificate of competency that they would reach out to the SBA to get with that small business to verify their financials, to see what other lines of resources do they have in order to be able to successfully complete that contract. And it's called a certificate of competency, and only the contracting officer can request it. The small business cannot do that.
Great to know, thank you. Any of our other panelists?
And also, Abby, just letting everyone know, I put the links for Subnet and sam.gov into the chat.
Okay, thank you so much for adding those. I know we have lots of great links in the chat for everyone to read. I'm gonna read off one more question and then we may be out of time for this panel, but our panelists will be sticking around to answer more of them in the chat. And we also have another great panel coming up. We got a question regarding diversification, and I wanted to talk about that because that is the purpose of today's webinar, diversifying who you're doing business with. However, this question has to do with diversifying their offerings. So if they are currently in engineering services and they're not a direct match for government agencies, are there any programs that will help them adapt to a new industry? Does anyone want to take a stab at that question?
Well, for our certification program, and especially the 8A Business Development Program, contractors are allowed to come in with a primary NAICS code, which is going to be the bulk of what they do their business with. We do also allow for secondary codes. And in sam.gov, you are actually asked to put in all the services that you actually provide. I do know during this pandemic time that a lot of companies had to pivot. We had some construction contractors that are doing janitorial, which is kind of like under facility maintenance, where they can go out to a military installation and do the lawn care, the janitorial, and any construction jobs that come up. We encourage our firms to diversify, to be able to do more than one thing. We say a jack of all trades and a master of none is that same, but for federal agencies, they're looking at like a one-stop shop. And typically for engineering, that's going to come under your design. So that may be a NAICS code that's not necessarily let out unless it's under research and development. So that again is going to be a different tool that the small businesses are going to have to look at when they're determining which way they want to go. We have some architectural engineering firms. So not only just engineering, but architectural. And then they have a construction piece to it as well.
Thank you, that was a great insight. Anyone else want to speak to that? If not, does anyone have any closing remarks, any last tips for our business owners before we end this panel for our next small business panel?
I had something I wanted to add, and that was to be just to really encourage folks to, if you're thinking about getting into government, don't reinvent the wheel. If there's someone else who's a competitor and you recognize that they've had different contracts, figure out what they've had and model your company as far as your strategy after theirs. Keep in mind too, when you're doing business with the government, there's a transparency level that has to occur opposed to doing business in the private sector. So all the information that is available, the bids, who won those bids, you can actually contact, especially for the city of Houston, you can contact us and you can find out who was the winning bid and actually review that bid so that you can look at that, see what they did, and then that can better prepare you for when you go and submit a bid for something. So take advantage of the government having to provide and be open about the information in regards to the solicitations and the contracts, and just really begin to model yourself, look at previous bids that were won, look at other folks' strategy of what they did, and just begin to pattern yourself after that so that you can, you're not necessarily starting from scratch and trying to figure it out and reinvent the wheel. Just kind of look at what they did and just put your own flavor into it and go after it.
And I wanted to add to that. Thank you, Dr. Jackson. That's a great point. But for us, what I would say is if you're not selected, request a debrief. While you cannot see others' bids or their bid package, our purchasing department can address your specific bid and give you some ideas that may help you as you pursue additional opportunities. The other point that I would say is also consider when agencies pay. The university, notoriously, we pay a little bit later. We have to pay within 30 days, but it's like, if you are counting, if you want to diversify your portfolio, also consider that when people pay you and how do you survive until you get your payment.
I'd like to add a couple points. So first, I want to make sure that all our, not panelists, but all of our participants know that Harris County does not certify firms. We do accept the City of Houston's MBE, WBE. We accept DBE, HUB, and 8A. All of those are our definition of MWBEs. So anytime you hear the county talking about MWBEs, we're talking about all of those certifications. And then to Dr. Jackson's point, I would say just make sure you network with primes, network with subs who are getting contracts, and network with the entities that you're working with. You have to be a face that they recognize. You need to get in the room. You need to be part of the decision-making process. So definitely network and understand what's going on.
Thank you all so much. You guys answered so many of our questions from our audience and some that I prepared too. Thank you for those insights, and please hang around with us until the end in case we have more questions. We have several in the Q&A. If any of our panelists want to go in and answer some of those questions, some are very specific to each of your agencies. Again, thank you for joining us today, and I appreciate all of your insights. We are now going to hop on over to our next panel. Very excited to introduce Ms. Shalana Williams with the University of Houston. She is going to lead our small business panel, where you will hear from various successful businesses that have done business with these various agencies. So if we could have all of our panelists for the small business panel turn on their camera, I'll be adding you to the stage with Shalana. Shalana, over to you.
All right, good morning, everyone. As Abby said, I am Shalana Williams with the University of Houston Hub Operations Department, and I'll be your moderator for the small business panel. Today's panelists include Ed Milton with 7th Echelon LLC, Rodney Craig with Summit Industries Incorporated, and Ms. Michelle McDaniel with Elite Image Tax and Notary. Thank you so much, panelists, for joining us this morning. So just to get us started, if you could, I'll just give us a brief introduction of yourself and a general overview of your company. Michelle, we can start with you.
Good morning. My name is Michelle McDaniel, and I'm the president and CEO of Elite Image Tax and Notary Service. We do government contracting under Elite Image Professional Service. We are a professional accounting firm based here in Houston. We're certified with all the agencies that you had on previously, so that was really awesome to see. And so what we do is we offer that boutique services of financial services to small businesses, financial statements, accounting, your back office setup, strategic administrative. But then on the contracting side, it's internal, external auditing, financial and risk analysis and assessments and contract compliance. And one of our most latest service offerings is disaster recovery assistance.
All right, thank you so much. Ed, would you like to hop in, give us your introduction?
Hey, sure. Thank you all for having me. I really appreciate it. My name is Ed Milton. 7th Echelon is my company. We've been in business since 2016 or so. We're a professional services firm, flat out. We do project management and security. Like Miss Spears Madison said, we do project management and security a different way. We do construction and IT. So we've done construction project management as well as IT project management. On the security side, we've done physical security, certified to do that, as well as cyber. So we kind of do both from a diversification standpoint. The thing that our clients say about us, I think one of the things is, why do you consider yourself special? I hear sometimes I'm like, well, I don't know about that. My mom will say different. But what my clients say, we're dependable, we're methodology driven, our approach is pretty solid. They hire us again is always a good quote we like to hear, and we're highly effective, and we definitely challenge their perspective. We're never going to be the consulting firm that just goes along and tells you, okay, well, that's what you want us to do, we'll do it now. No, this is where you're going to go sideways, and we'd like you not to do that, but we need to make sure you get it done the right way. So that's what we do. That's who we are.
All right, thank you. And Rodney?
Good morning, and thank you for having me. It's a great panel, great opportunity here, and hopefully everyone gets a lot of value out of this. My name is Rodney Craig. I'm the founder and CEO of Summus Industries. Summus Industries over the last 25 years has become a highly diversified business providing solutions in the procurement of IT products and services, leasing and finance solutions, laboratory research, and office products. We've been known to leverage strategic sourcing, e-commerce solutions, and we use those tools to help drive costs out of the supply chain and bring the best total value to our customers. Our technology platform has allowed our company to very quickly scale up and become one of the most successful minority-owned businesses in the state of Texas. So we really pride ourselves on our B2B and our technology platforms.
All right, great. Thank you so much for those introductions. All right, so attendees for this panel, I ask that you utilize the Q&A function of Zoom if you have any questions. I know we have some activity going on in the chat, but just so we don't lose your question in the midst of commenting in the chat, I ask that you use the Q&A section for this panelist, so that way at the end we can ensure that we get to those questions. All right, so for my panelists, the first question that I'd like to ask is, how is small business development programs supported and help your company grow? Ed, let's start with you. You're muted.
But just a habit, sorry.
I know.
So, well, just to start a lot, just to kind of go through a short history, I showed up at the NBDA, talking to Mark Craig, like, hey, what I need to do. I need to get my business going. Gabby's and Brandon's in the background kind of laughing at me when I was talking to him, but they helped a lot to help me get on the right path. They're like, get your veteran certification first. So I got my veteran on small business certification first. That helps get you ready for the rest of the certifications, because it's a battle of attrition. It's a lot of paperwork, folks. I'm just gonna let you know. So if you don't like doing paperwork, this ain't for you. So just get ready for that. Like ticking and tying, the accountants will tell you a work paper index, whatever it needs to be, but they will help you move along. But then moving on to the Houston side of it, I picked up my MBE there, and that's when I got my first contract. Under Dr. Murray and the rest of the crew out there. That was extremely helpful to land a contract with Houston First. So they do matter. And that's how I was able to put bread on the table at my home based on that contract. And then that led to stuff at HISD and the like. And then under the leadership of Ms. Robinson over at HMSDC, the HMSDC certification definitely helps with partnerships. I've been able to pick up people along the way, picked up an accountant I'm going to pick up and roll on here soon to get up to speed, and we can get all going. Bickham Services picked up her to help with recruiting, and also help with TechSync to help me get some other opportunities. So those certifications only help you build your network as well. And with the SBE, DBE, I was able to do some work with Metro there, and that helped along the way with Otis and Sharonda. And then finally finishing out with the 8A certification on the federal side, with Ms. Spears Madison helping out there. That's how I landed on the federal side. So I've ticked the boxes on all of them. To Michelle's point, it's a lot of work, go get them, but they'll help you along the way. So they've helped me a lot.
Mhm.
All right, my other panelists who'd like to hop in and speak to small business development programs and how they've helped you.
I will jump in. Oh, go on, Michelle. I'm sorry.
Look, no worries. We
Please.
started at the same time.
Yeah,
So,
go ahead.
what I would like to share with that is, without these programs and agencies, I don't think I would be here. And that's just what it is. Every program and every panelist that you shared with us previously had a part in who I was as a business. When I started back in 2012, I just offered, taxation and accounting because that was I thought that was my only background. I first went to the city of Houston where I met OBO, Dr. Murray and Dr. Jackson and everybody in that department. That's where I got my first contract, is because I pursued that with the city of Houston. I was a mentor protege in that program. So I met Metro and Veronica at HCC and Sharonda. And so for each of you that is on this presentation today, and you are truly serious about growing your business, you have got to network. One of the other things that I did in my development is I went to every pre-bid, even if it didn't apply to me. I went to every pre-bid meeting for things that didn't even apply to me. And so that led me to opportunities with primes. That led me to subcontracting opportunities with other small businesses. Everything every panelist shared with you is simply what happened. Before I was registered, in my first year of business, I only made $97 that first year. Yeah, it was a whopping $97. But once I got certified, I started networking with the agencies. I started doing the mentoring programs, and you start going to the matchmaking. You take the appointments that they all tell you. When they say they'll meet with you, they meet with you. So now, because of all of those opportunities, we're managing contracts that are over $15 million right now. And that's because of all the agencies that you've shared with us before. I followed the plan. I just simply took the book, and wherever they led is where I went. And so, like Ed, it is a lot of paperwork, and that's why people sometimes don't want to be certified. But once you complete that initial hump, it's really, how serious are you about your business? I can't avoid, document control because I don't want to make the money. So follow the plan that they've already laid out, and don't reinvent the wheel.
All right, thank you. Rodney, could you speak to how small business development programs have assisted and helped your business grow?
Sure. And first of all, Ed and Michelle were spot on their comments. To Ed's point, the paperwork it's a lot of paperwork, and they're going to ask you a lot of personal questions, and you're going to have to disclose tax returns and things that you typically don't like giving up, but it's all part of the certification process. And it rolls around every couple years, that whole certification thing. And the one that gets me is the SAMS portal. It's like, I cannot understand that. I always end up having to call an 800 number to get some help getting my SAM certification taken care of.
Rodney, don't be embarrassed. I have to too. I'm so proud of that.
That is the most user unfriendly website that I've been on.
I love SAM.
Offending anyone.
I'm good with SAM. I can flow through that. Holler at me if you need me.
And that's because you're IT.
But to keep moving on, the networking opportunities that were provided to us through getting certified as a hub and going to the various networking events, and that was a tremendous asset for us, and being able to network with primes. But that was only the beginning for us, because once you get in and get to know somebody, that's the hard work really starts, because now you've got to be able to articulate what your vision is and what is your value proposition. What are you bringing to the table that somebody's going to want to issue a PO for and pay you for those services? So that's where the hard work comes. And then being able to live up to what you say you're going to do. And I think I'm a little bit older than everybody on this panel, so I can speak from a different perspective in that the cards have, when I started, the cards were somewhat tilted against our business because we had to prove ourselves, and everybody out there was a naysayer. And you're going to have to overcome those sorts of objections because there are people out there that are going to say, you know, your price is too high, your service is poor, and you don't return phone calls. So those are the things that we have to overcome on a daily basis. And we pride ourselves around our company in making sure that we don't have those types of failures, because that's unfortunately some folks out there have that sort of expectation. But the small business opportunities that we've had over the last 25 years, there is no way this company would be in existence without those opportunities out there. And kudos to folks like Senator West and HMSDC and the State Hub program. Otherwise, we would not be in existence today.
All right, thank you.
And
So,
also, real quick, so Shalana actually, funny thing is Shalana actually did my site visit.
Sure did.
She did my site visit for my certification. She surely did. Yeah, okay.
Yes, I did back in my HMSDC days or City Houston days, one of the two. All right, so the next question, what are some main challenges facing your company or your business today? We'll start, Rodney, if you'd like to hop back in, and we'll start with you.
Absolutely. Well, the elephant in the room is COVID. 2 years ago or so, the whole world changed, and all of a sudden you couldn't have access to customers, and the economy shrank, and people didn't know, well, where's my next purchase order going to come from? Everybody that was sitting in an office, all of a sudden they're sitting at home working from home. So that severely changed how we go about our business, and for all of us, in fact, how are we going to business now? Because the way business is conducted has changed literally overnight. So that's been a huge challenge. And then of course you've got the things like access to capital out there, which it's a huge impediment to any small business. And it's just it's tough going out there. Fortunately, we've been able to grow through COVID, and I think that's a function of our technology business. And all of a sudden, people that were going to an office had to work remotely from home, and IT professionals had to worry about security and network security. Well, these folks have this laptop at home now they're getting into our network. What do we do? So our business has benefited tremendously from that. So those are some of the challenges that I see out there. And then you've got the sort of a changing political dynamic out there that's also causing some headwinds for us. And some of the programs that we're participating in, maybe that people are looking at them with a little bit different point of view now.
That's a good thing. All right, so thank you so much for your answer. Michelle, could you speak to some of the challenges facing your business today?
So we have one major, and I wouldn't say major, it's because of the economy and the position that we're in with COVID. Because we are a financial based firm, and so we have personal data information that we have access to, and on the government contracting side of the financials, risk assessments and the audits and things like that, when you're dealing with government agencies, with the one challenge that I had to face, and we had to rewrite our COVID policy, and our internet policy, rewrite those policies because some of those agencies don't want their information out, and I respect that. And so what we had to do is I had to keep people working, sometimes on site, as a result of that. And so thankfully, I didn't have too much pushback from some of the employees that I have placed on different government sites in the finance department at the city or at HPD. Those agencies had to keep going. And so I was grateful that the employees that I have were willing to transition and work with us and to stay on site when it wasn't even, when it was something that was probably, a health risk. And so we had to rewrite our company policies to keep up with that ever-changing time, which we did well. But as a result of that, we had a tremendous growth opportunity within that because we did keep working. There were other opportunities that we picked up because some other contractors had left. And so we were able to pivot with that. And then because of the funding opportunities such as PPP, EIDL, we partnered with banks. And so we had the opportunity to partner with banks to help in some of those packaging. And so we were able to pivot with that. And I will say that I'm very excited that as a small firm, that we were able to keep everyone working and able to not have any lapse time within our contracting opportunities. And so I will tell you, I had a moment of good panic because it was happening so fast, and I thought, "Ooh, can I handle this?" And I just went back to my staff and I said, "Look, this is where we are. This is the point we wanted to be at. So what can I do to help you to make it better?" And so my expenses went up because I had to then purchase computers for some people who did not have computers at home. I had to make sure they had internet and some of those type of services, and then also be able to secure those devices. And so, although it was a challenge, it became a good thing, and it helped us to pivot in a different growth space that we were looking for. So I would say a little bit of both. But we overcame that, and I'm very proud of my team because we didn't have a lapse and we stuck together. And so, Rodney, I will tell you, and I did get some of those comments, "Well, I called you and you didn't call me back." I'm like, "You know what? I'm gonna call you tomorrow." So it's really a good opportunity, and I'm glad we were in that space to be able to pick up new opportunities because it was unfortunate that some businesses weren't able to handle it, and and they folded. But I'm grateful we were there and they saw that we had the capacity to be able to handle it. So
great. Y'all having some challenges, but you're bouncing back from these challenges. Great. That's good to hear. So Ed, could you tell us, yes, Ed, could you tell
remember
us
that,
about Ed, could you answer the same?
Kind of, but just all the stuff they said is spot on. It got rocky out there for a little bit, but the challenges, I'll tell you, for other people that's trying to go down the path that we've done, for me, the All Small Ministry Protege program with the federal side is one of my challenges. So trying to get somebody to believe in you, put their name on you. That's a large prime, like a defense contractor, stuff like that. Like those folks have to vet you and look at you a different way. So that's the challenge other people run across. Facility clearances, top secret clearances, those things are challenging to say the least. You actually can lose people to that because we want to pick those people up right away, right? So, and the big elephant in the room, proposal management. I'm about to drive my employees nuts. When I say nuts, because they were feeling double duty. They're like, well, we got to make the money. They got to do the job. We got to make the money. So, I appreciate them putting up with me because they do put up with me. But we got to get those proposals cranked out because they have to be professional. They have to be done well. But that's one of those things when you burn at both ends. And the good folks at PTAC and all the trainings out there and everything like that, they really, Tim Healy's been a great mentor for me, helping us set up the searches and all that type of stuff to make sure we're focused on the right opportunities. So, but that's the challenges that I have. just kind of the grind of getting those proposals out.
All right, thank you, thank you. All right, so now I'd like to ask you, when you first established your companies, how did you determine which governmental agency that you would want to start doing business with? How did you go about navigating, okay, now let me go out for this federal contract? How did you make that big jump? I see everyone's kind of itching to answer that question. So Michelle, let's start with you. How did you determine, here's where I'll start first?
So you really have to look at the best fit. Look at what your service offerings are. And then you have to do the research. Ed has said that, Mr. Rodney also said that, and I concur. You have to find out what the agencies are in need of, and you have to see how you can present yourself, how you can offer that to them. But when you're making these offerings, you got to also care about what they care about. So what does the city of Houston care about on this project? What does Metro care about on this project? What does MD Anderson care about on this project? And so when you're making those presentations, you got to include what that prospective client or agency cares about. And then you just go sell yourself. I love networking. And so my mama told me when I was little, I talked too much, that if I just listen, if you just listen, you can find out a lot about what the agencies need, because they always talk about what they're needing. And so, I tell my mom that all the time when I talk to her, I say, Mama, I listen now. She was like, about time. So if you just listen to what the agencies are saying, and that's what I did, and it works for us. And I still listen, look at their websites, look at the, at their bidding opportunities, and they're already telling you what they're looking for. You just need to be able to see how you can accommodate. But let me also tell you, please don't apply for work that you don't have the capacity to complete. And because that is gonna not only mess up your company, but you may not be able to get other opportunities from that agency. So if you're gonna put together that proposal, make sure you have the capacity, and I think Dr. Clark mentioned it about when that first payment. When I first started, I didn't know it was gonna be 45 days before I got my first check, and I was like, how am I gonna pay these people? And so, you have to think about those type of things. So you need to look at your cost. You need to make sure you estimate the cost of the project properly. You need to look at all of those things, and get involved with some of the mentoring programs, because they teach you how to successfully bid. And because we're business owners, when you're young and you're new and you're desperate, sometimes you don't make the best choices. So look and see what they're offering. And if you don't have the capacity alone, I know all three of us are available for joint ventures. So there you go.
All right, come on. All right, so great words of advice. Thank you so much. Ed, how about you? When you first were established, how did you determine what governmental agency to kind of market yourself or go out for a contract for?
Local.
Okay.
Because I needed to get a track record outside of corporate. I'm a corporate guy. I didn't, I had all that experience, but that didn't mean nothing on the government side. So, showing up to all those, and I must say, I've lived a few places, and I'll say the city of Houston and the folks around and the counties, those pre-bid conferences, to Michelle, like, show up, folks. Like that, like a lot of places don't do that. They really don't. You go to Chicago, guess what? Get it how you get it. But here because that's how I got my first gig. I mean, literally, like Roger Harris was up front at Houston First speaking. They asked a couple of questions. They drove home the point about small business, and these people out there advocate for you in front of the prime, saying, "Hey, all my small businesses stand up in front of the prime." So local is where you get your track record. That's how you get everything started. So if you're getting those Metro emails or HCC emails from Veronica, Sharonda, you know, from Fort Bend, whoever that might be. It might not be your thing, but you might meet somebody. And I met somebody at a Fort Bend pre-bid conference for security. We ended up doing security for something else because we met each other. And then I was able to pick up another contractor to help with that with the HMSDC Tech Sync with Bird and Anthony. So you just never know who you're going to meet. So show up to those pre-bid conferences. I'll stop because I got 2 ears and 1 mouth. So I'm from
that's great. Making connections. That's great. Rodney, could you speak to your company? How did you determine what governmental agency to kind of go out or try to market yourself towards?
Okay, sure. And frankly, my path to starting Summit Industries was totally unconventional because at the time I wasn't even looking to start a business, and I had done some consulting work for a small business that ended up getting a contract at an agency, and subsequently that agency ended up calling me and asking, hey, you seem to have a pretty good business acumen. Would you be interested in starting a business? And for a year, I said no. It's like, I have no interest in starting my own business. And finally, I caved in and started looking at it and looking at the opportunities and saying, you know what, maybe there's some traction here to be gained. And looked at the Hub program and said, I think this could be something that could work. And against my CPA's wishes, I did it anyway. Ended up being the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. Almost went out of business in the first year, but you know, taking advantage of all the things that were available to me through you know, the Hub program, HMSDC, getting all the certifications, it turned out to be a great experience. And what I found is that you've got to be flexible doing this. And as Michelle said, it took 45 days to get that first check, and your suppliers wanted payment in what, 30 days, right?
Yep.
So it's just something you've got to be prepared for. But once we got that first break and we executed at a very high level, and you know, our story is one of phone calls. You know, the phone just kept ringing. We had a huge success with this one particular agency, and somehow we got some notoriety around the state, and folks started calling us, and Prime started calling us. And I am not smart enough to write a business plan to create what Summit Industries is today. It's really turned out extremely well. But one of the things that I have say around our company is that luck resides at the intersection of preparation and opportunity. So when I look back at my background, academic training and work experience, those are the things that gave me what I needed. So when that lucky charm fell into my lap, I was able to execute at a high level, and that's transformed into our company's culture, and it's worked out extremely well for us. But again, for what we are today, I am not smart enough to write that business plan. So it's all about being flexible and listening to what customers want and being prepared when that opportunity comes your way.
All right.
Sometimes you only get one swing.
Y'all are giving out some great information. I believe we're still doing good on time. Abby hasn't popped in to stop us just yet. So I'm going to ask you one more question if we have some time. I don't see her popping in. So I think we're good.
One last question and then we'll move on to
All right. I just wanted to check in.
No,
all right,
I love
this is
it.
some good
information.
All right. Okay, so final question, panelists. What business advice would you give your younger self? So back when you were first establishing your company, establishing your business, knowing what you know now, what information would you have given yourself, or any, just in general, business starting out? What tips of the trade, or what good information would you give?
I'd say, remember, I told you God will make a way. See what I told you? Mm-hmm. That'd be number one. The second one would be, there's no perfect route. There's no, it's going to be about some bumps and bruises. It's going to be, I think, Steve Jobs, I think, said it's like a loop. You keep going around and around. And the last part, and the nod to Michelle's, $97. Your life partner matters. because mine was a negative 14,000, and it showed in my applications for my for my small business certifications. So we didn't make no money, we lost money. So but your life partner, you need that person that's going to be like, hey, we can do this. I believe in you, because there's going to be days that you don't believe in yourself. The anxiety will pile up, but it's always good to have a life partner and somebody that cares about you and that faith to keep pressing. So again, I would tell myself, remember I told you God to make a way. Guess what he did? That's number one.
All right. Michelle, would you like to speak to it?
So what I woke up one day and I just quit corporate America because I was tired of my boss and I felt like I was just gonna beat her up the next day.
Oh no. Can't do that.
So I woke up and I just said, I ain't going to work no more. And that's literally how that happened. It's a true story. If my kids were here, they would tell you. And so I did not have a business plan. I did not have a vision plan. I literally woke up and quit my job. And I'd always wanted to do it, but I wanted to be prepared. And so I didn't. And to my own defense, I pumped myself up. You're educated, you're smart, you're beautiful, and you already know how to do the work. You just got to go get it yourself. And so after that, I took $4,000 out of my retirement. I went and bought a computer, a printer, and I bought some tax software. And I worked from home. And in agreement with Ed, about a year in on that Hot 97, and you got to put a kid in college and your car is smoking and the one headlight don't work, and you like, what was I thinking? And so, but my children were more behind me than anything, because my husband was still in the military at the time and he had no idea what was going on. And so my first years of business, while my kids were in high school, middle school, elementary, that was my file clerk. That was my paper shredder. They answered the phones, and I worked from home until I was able to get my first executive office. But what I would tell my younger self, sometimes I would tell her to have a plan and be prepared, but then I would tell her, you did it the way that was best for you. Because if I hadn't have had those real world experiences and being a true entrepreneur, and knowing if I had the resiliency to be able to take where I am right now, I would probably say I wouldn't do it over, because every mistake I made gave me the platform to be the woman in business that I am, to have the networking opportunities I have. And at the end of the day, when I sometimes, even now, I just kind of sit in my chair and I look back and I'm like, wow, if I hadn't have made those choices that I made as a business owner, as a woman, I have staff that I have to provide for. They have families. So if I don't do what I need to do, then those families of my employees won't have anything. And so now, not that you only have the weight of your own family on your shoulders, you have the weight of your staff. And so because they're good to you, you want to be good to them and keep the work coming in. And so sometimes I would tell her, girl, don't jump off that ledge without a safety mat. But then while you're falling, Ed, you're calling on Jesus, and it's like, Jesus, I really don't want to hit this bottom, because we already talked about this. So I think it's a little bit of both. I would tell her to have a plan, to be a little bit more prepared. But I think sometimes as entrepreneurs, when we think we know everything, we kind of miss some bumps. And so we kind of, miss a step or two here and there. And so a lot of me says we did okay. So A little bit of both. Tell her to have a plan. Don't jump off the ledge so quickly. But here we are, and everybody's story is not the same. So I wish each of you success in however you created your entrepreneur story.
All right, thank you, thank you. All right, now, Rodney, what about you? What business advice would you give your younger self or any business owner in general when starting out?
Well, first of all, I want to echo a couple of things that Ed and Michelle said. And, my grandmother used to say, God looks out for children and fools, and God certainly looked out for me. So the other thing would be it is very easy to start a business. You go to the Secretary of State's office and you get your company registered and you call the federal government and you get your tax ID number and you're in business. But that's the easy stuff. But staying in business is very, very difficult, and you've got to be prepared to do a lot of work. Ed talked about having that life partner that's going to stick by your side and keep you coached up and motivate you to go out there and keep doing it. And that's important because you put in a lot of hours. And if anyone tells you that starting a business is really easy, go do it. Don't take that advice, because it is it's very difficult. But I would be mistaken if I didn't say it's been the most rewarding thing that I've done, not only financially, but watching our employees grow and seeing families buying homes and sending their kids to college. And to Michelle's point, it's an awesome responsibility. Every 2 weeks, those folks have to get paid, and they're depending on your company to do so. But when people buy into the dream and you see your company running well and everybody's bought into the culture of your business and business is doing well. And the other thing that I would say is make sure you're being flexible, because over 25 years, we've gone through the whole Y2K thing, when the world was going to stop spinning on its axis and computers were going to stop running. And then you have the financial crisis of 2008, and then 2016, now COVID. So along the way we had to adapt and be flexible with our business, because customers' needs changed, and you have to be able to adopt your business model to fit those customers' needs. So I would highly encourage someone to, as you're doing this, it's hard work. It's going to be scary. Your CPA and your lawyer need to be your best friends, and a banker. But go out there and do it. Small business is what this country is all about. If you look at most of the people that are working in this country today, they're employed by small businesses. And I'm a huge small business advocate. And I would do this again in a heartbeat. As rough as it was at points, I would do it in a heartbeat.
All right. Well, I'd like to say thank you so much to our panelists. You've given us some great information, some great motivation and everything. So thank you once again. I know our attendees are very, very happy that they logged in today, because they got some really good information. So now I'll turn it over to Dr. Jackson. We're going to do a Q&A segment now.
Yes, thank you, Shalana. So we have a couple questions in the chat, and I'm encouraging folks to put in those last questions so we can get them answered. So the first question is in regards to our business owners. What venues do you use to recruit personnel or employees?
I've used LinkedIn before with some success, but I hired Rachel Bickham from Bickham Services. I think she's a client as well. So with HMSDC and also City of Houston. So that's what I've used before.
I've used the same. I've used LinkedIn for accounting specialists. I tried Indeed, but I know it's a great platform, but I didn't get great candidates as far as what I was looking for. And I've also used Sunshine Personnel. I'm on the advisory board with NAMAC, and so she's a board member, and she owns Sunshine's Personnel, and so I've used her from time to time as well.
I've used all the same, but I'll tell you the best success that I've had has been just personal reference. Someone that knows someone that's looking for a job. That's always been sort of our best source. But right now it's very difficult finding employees, so it's a big challenge out there. And I would encourage you to use every available means possible to find people.
Wonderful, thank you. Another question, and this really can go for anyone from either one of our panels to answer. Should potential contractors have W-2 employees as opposed to independent contractors? And I know, Michelle, you can definitely plug in
like,
on the accounting side.
Is this a trick? Is this a trick question? And so let me tell you, in all honesty and fairness, I know sometimes as entrepreneurs, we need workers. And so there is a difference between an employee and a contractor, two very different things. And so I know sometimes small business owners want that employee, and so they pay them as a 1099 to avoid paying taxes. I would employ you to learn the difference between the two. And as a contractor, you have no control or say over what that person does daily, but an employee does. And that's where that budgeting comes into. That's where you're having to have a financial meeting and a planning session with your CPA and accountant so we can tell you the truth, honestly. You may not like what we have to say. Most times you don't. But when it comes to the growth of your business, you want to make sure that you're doing what's right in the life of your business financially so that you can be resilient. And one added point to that, there were so many businesses that weren't able to apply for PPP or EIDL because they weren't paying their employees as W-2s. They were contractors in 1099s. And as you see now that didn't benefit you in your business. And so a lot of people weren't able to get funding because of that. So look at where you are. And yes, it will be difficult transitioning all your employees to W-2s. And that includes yourself. You have to figure out a way to do that. So have that tax planning meeting. And look at the reality. You may have to cut some other costs in order to do that, but it will be worth it because as employees, you have employer benefits and credits that you can write off with employees that you're not able to do with contractors. So consider what that looks like as well. So that can be a whole nother topic if you just keep going.
I wanted to kind of pull in on that too, Dr. Jackson. This is Gay with SBA, and of the certification programs that I talked about, the Hub Zone is the only one that's going to question 1099 versus W-2 employees as far as certification is going to be. Hub Zone is only going to look at 35% of the employees, which are W-2s. We don't really consider the 1099s when you're looking at the Hub Zone certification. So as Ms. Michelle alluded to, W-2s for the owner of the business as well as the other employees, and then 35% of that number have to reside in a Hub Zone. Hey, Ed.
How you doing? I will have my paperwork to you.
I appreciate it.
And
So,
then we had, go ahead. Did you want to add to it, Ed? Go ahead.
I did. So if you've ever, I've done both, and I appreciate 1099s, and they've been extremely helpful for me and my business. But it's the difference between a renter and a homeowner.
Yep.
I'll put it to you like that. Somebody else is going to stick around and help you grow your business as an employee. 1099, because I've been a 1099 too, so I know how it is. So they just want to put it to you like that.
And Michelle, you were spot on about the control thing, because that difference in a contractor, you can't control them, or if you start putting too much control on them, the IRS deems them as an employee.
That's correct.
You get in trouble for doing that. But having an employee, you're able to control your processes. And in our business, everything has to be highly controlled and very repeatable. And you lose that with a 1099 contractor.
Yes. I have I have a tip sheet for that, Dr. Jackson, if you want me to email it and you email it out to the participants. It's just the IRS top 20 facts on contractors versus employees. So it may help.
That would be awesome if you can do that. And then we have a couple more questions that entered into the chat. One, is anyone taking on any mentees is a question.
I am not yet, because I am still being mentored in my government contracting pursuit. So at this time, I am not. That is something that I've considered because of our success, maybe, in the future, but currently right now, no ma'am, or no sir.
Yeah, I'm tapped out. I don't have the bandwidth. I've already got a few already. So yeah, so I'm sorry. I wish I could, but I just can't.
And like Ed and Michelle, I'm tapped out right now. I'm actually mentoring someone through the Amazon Black Enterprise Marketplace. So I've got a company that I'm working with right now.
That's awesome. Amazon is awesome.
I'm meeting with Amazon next week at the National 8A Association. I got a one-on-one with them, so we should talk, maybe get some coaching on that.
Absolutely. And Amazon appears to be doing some very good things out there. So they've got, I think, probably 15 champions, which I'm one of them, around the country, and several businesses that we're working very closely with. So we just got it kicked off about a month ago, but it's very intriguing and looks like some positive things are going to come out of it.
I'm emailing you, Rodney.
Okay.
That's awesome. So though they may not be available to provide mentorship, just know that there are other programs that you can seek mentorship with.
Absolutely. And I can give everybody some contacts at Amazon right now.
There we go. And then also they did provide their information. So if you just have a question or two that you want to ask them, you can definitely reach out to them via the information they provided in the chat or on their LinkedIn accounts. And so we did have a question. There was a lot of talk about the pre-bids. So are pre-bids virtual or in person? So for our first panel, I think y'all would be best to answer that. I can speak on behalf of the City of Houston. Some are in person and some are virtual. It just really depends on that particular bid and what's required for that. So just look out for that. So if Gay or Dr. Clark can jump in on that.
Repeat the question. Repeat the question.
Are pre-bids in person or virtual?
From my recollection, with a lot of the procurement agencies that we've been talking with, a lot of them are still doing virtual type deals. I think the nature of the pre-bid or the sources, not the sources, or the solicitation itself would kind of qualify as to what. I had a contractor who called me and said, I'm on a site right now going through. So, and that was with the Corps of Engineers in New Orleans. So there are some agencies that are still doing things virtual, but I think on an as-need basis, the physical will come back into play.
Thank you.
And right now for University of Houston, everything is pretty much just still virtual. It may be transitioning to in-person. I know they still do, for some of the construction projects, they will do on-site walkthroughs. So, and as far as our general contractor, that just varies in terms of whether they prefer to do any of their activities virtual or in person. But right now I'm seeing everything still seems to be virtual.
Okay, thank you. And then so two-part question as far as where can one look for work, for contracting work, where should they start? And then also, how do you carve out time to research contract opportunities and to network and go to pre-bids?
When you carve out time when you're sleeping. No, seriously. So you have to, Rodney and Ed both said it earlier. It's not an easy process to do what we're doing. And so if you are a team of me, you're gonna have to figure out a way to set out time daily to do it, because once you register with each of the agencies, the information is there. You just have to research it. But if you put your NACE codes in and your NIGP codes, you'll get emails specific to your industry or trade or service. registering with each agency will help you out tremendously. And then going to the pre-bids to meet the project manager or project director so that they can perhaps keep you in the loop as well. What I used to do when I was a team of me is I would meet everybody during the week, and on Saturdays when I'm under the hair dryer, I'm researching because I'm gonna sit there for a couple of hours. So I use that as my internet searching time to find out what's out there. And then I would make a list, and then I would know who my contact was that I had to reach out to on Monday.
Great. Anyone else have any advice as far as how to carve out time to network and to search for bids?
So your systems are going to be key. I think my panelist colleagues have hit a lot of good points, but your system, like if anybody's familiar with what a Kanban board looks like, that's your typical, what's your backlog, what you're working on, what your progress is, and moving along the way. You need to have some type of system to do that in order to track things and make sense to you, because if not, you're just gonna be chasing everything, and then you're not gonna get anything. So yep. you gotta be real focused and tailored on to the points about the codes, and also to if the bid is already kind of pre-wired, if the incumbent is kind of pre-wired in the sense that, hey, you might want to try and prime, you might want to try and subcontract this one because the prime is probably going to have the knowledge to stick around. So you might want to try it that way. So you got to start learning how to do those things. It's not going to be easy, but it's definitely not impossible because we're here. So y'all, why not y'all?
Excellent. So we are going to wrap up our Q&A session. So thank you to everyone for providing the answers. And just for our folks on attendance, the chat has everyone's information. So if you want to make sure that take this time right now to save the chat, go to those 3 dots, click on that, and you'll see Save Chat. Go ahead and save it so you'll have everyone's contact information and all the answers to the various questions that were answered via the chat. So now I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Clark, who's going to provide the closing remarks.
Well, I would just want to first thank our panelists. Thank you so very, very much for both panels for a great information. And to the participants, please reach out if your questions weren't answered. And thank you again for participating.
Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. I hope you have a great rest of your day. I will be following up with all of our panelists' contact information and various links that we shared today. So be looking out for that email today. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you so much.
Go Cougs.
Thank you, Dr. Clark.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye.